set in a small Inuit village in the icy lands of the Arctic, on a polar night when the sun does not rise for 4 months. This is the story of how one woman's courage saved an entire community. This is not only a story of survival, but also a story of achieving the impossible with the strength of our ancestors. Naeli, 25, was one of the most skilled hunters in her village. With the traditional knowledge she learned from her grandmother Siku and her education from the modern world, she was a bridge in her village. At the beginning of November, a strange illness began to appear in the village. First, the elderly were affected, then the children. High fever, constant coughing, and most frightening of all, the patients were gradually losing their strength. In this remote village, out of reach of modern medicine, the nearest hospital was 1,000 kilometers away. Within 3 weeks, half the village was sick. Tiktaalik, Naeli's younger brother, was among the sick. Traditional medicines were not working. The village elders believed that this disease could only be defeated with the help of Tuorngait, spirit guides. But for that, they needed to find the legendary healing plant. On her deathbed, Naeli's grandmother Siku told her grandson an old legend. On the night when the northern star was brightest, the kimmick grass growing on the summit of the glacier mountain was a cure-all, but only the pure of heart and the brave of courage could reach it. With trembling hands, Siku handed Naeli the sacred amulet of his ancestors, a small polar bear figure carved from a sea elephant tusk, symbolizing a spirit guide. The village council met. The men wanted to undertake this dangerous journey, but Naeli insisted. "This task has been entrusted to me," she said firmly, "entrusted to me by my grandmother." Preparations began. She combined traditional Inuit knowledge with modern equipment: parka, traditional winter clothing, snowshoes, modern compass, emergency kit. Most importantly, the knowledge of nature reading and the ability to listen to his inner voice that his grandmother had taught him. She set off in the darkness of the polar night. The temperature was -40 degrees. The first day was relatively calm, but on the second night a terrible storm began. The snow was so thick that he could not see ahead. Her traditional knowledge kicked in. She navigated by the sound of the wind and identified safe places by the texture of the snow. But the hardest thing was to fight fear and loneliness. On the third night, when she was completely exhausted, she heard her grandmother's voice. "Do not be afraid, my daughter. The spirit of your ancestors is with you." At that moment, the northern lights began to dance across the sky. The green and blue lights seemed to show her the way. In Inuit tradition, the northern lights are known as the dancing of the spirits of deceased loved ones. That night, Naeli felt that she was not completely alone. On the 4th morning, she encountered a huge polar bear. Under normal circumstances, this would have meant death, but Naeli respected the animal as her grandmother had taught her. She removed the amulet and prayed silently. Miraculously, the polar bear did not attack her. It passed by her side, as if it recognized her, even acknowledged her path. This was a sign that his spirit guide was with her. When she reached the foot of the glacier mountain, the real challenge began. The ice walls were rising vertically. Without modern climbing equipment, she started climbing using only traditional techniques. At every step, there was the danger of falling. Her hands were bleeding, her feet were frozen, but her brother's sick face never left her eyes. Halfway through, when she felt she couldn't take it anymore, a voice came to her. "You are not just Naeli. You are the power of thousands of years of Inuit women. In your veins flows the blood of the mothers who defeated the ice and overcame the storms." This realization gave her incredible strength. Now she was climbing not only for herself, but for her village, for future generations. At the end of the 5th day, sweating blood, she reached the summit. But there were no plants there, just ice and snow. She despaired. Maybe it was all a myth, she thought. But just then the North Star appeared through the clouds, and its light focused on a small spot. Where the starlight focused, she saw a greenish glow under the ice. She dug her hands into the ice, and there it was. Kimmick grass, the miraculous plant known in traditional knowledge as the breath of life, living under the ice in impossible conditions. But there were only a few branches, not enough for the whole village. At that moment she remembered her grandmother's last words. The real medicine is not in the plant, but in the heart that reaches for it. She realized that this journey was not just to find plants, it was to discover her inner strength, the knowledge of her ancestors, the importance of social solidarity. She put the plant in a sacred bag and started to descend. But she was no longer the same. She felt thousands of years of wisdom and power inside her. As she descended, she reflected on what this experience had taught her. When modern medicine and traditional knowledge combined, seemingly impossible problems could be solved. But most importantly, the importance of individual courage in the face of social problems. When she returned to the village 8 days later, the situation had worsened. The children were now seriously ill too. Tiktalik's breathing became difficult. Nayeli prepared a traditional tea with herbs. But this was only the beginning. The real cure lay in the unity of the village, in the rebirth of hope. On the first day, only a few people showed signs of recovery. But more importantly, there was a renewed sense of hope and unity in the village. Nayeli's example of courage strengthened everyone. Combining traditional knowledge with modern first aid techniques, they began a systematic fight against the disease. Every family was doing what they could. Within 10 days, all the sick villagers had recovered. Tiktalik smiled for the first time in weeks. But Nayeli knew that the real miracle lay not in the plant, but in the unity of the village, in not losing hope. This was not just the defeat of a disease. It was the power of combining traditional knowledge with modern approaches. It was proof of how individual courage can solve social problems. Nayeli was now seen in her village, not only as a hunter, but also as a wise leader. Discover your inner strength. Listen to the voice of your ancestors, she advised young girls. This story teaches us that in the most difficult moments of life, the strength within us and the wisdom we have received from our ancestors can lead us to victory. Values that seem to have been lost in the modern world, courage, sacrifice, social solidarity, still live within us. There is a Nayeli in each of us. When difficult moments come, we must know how to listen to that voice. The light of the eternal night is not only the northern lights in the sky, but also the light of hope inside every human being. This light never goes out. We just sometimes ignore it. Nayeli's story can be lived today as it was thousands of years ago, because the human spirit is always ready to fight for goodness and courage. Dear viewers, what are the lessons you have learned from this story? Are there any problems in your life that you have solved with the power of courage? Share your thoughts with us in the comments. If you liked this story, don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel to discover more inspiring stories from the depths of Inuit culture. Until we meet in our next video, stay in love.